Okay, this is the long explanation of how to thread the machine. So I'm going to go over a lot of detail here. Slow it down or speed it up if you need it. We're going to start by getting our supplies. So from our pencil pouch, we're going to be pulling out our thread. You have black or white. A bobbin, you just need one, either black or white. Your bobbin case, which is this little guy, and your shears. Okay, that's what you'll need to thread. So I'm going to start by flipping up my spool pin. You can see you just flip this little thing up, and there's another option. If that's broken, you will have to take this little plastic cap off, and you put your thread on that spool pin right there, and then you put the cap back on so it doesn't fall off. That's just if it's broken. I prefer that you use the one that flips up. So go ahead and just place your thread right there on that, and you can see there's a different angle for you. I'm going to take my thread, I'm going to pull it across, and we're going to come over to this very first hook. Okay, so there's that little hook right there. Now you'll notice there are arrows along the way that will help you, so you can watch for those. I've got it securely around that hook. It's coming straight off the spool onto the hook. It's not going around the handle or anything weird like that. It's just going straight across and down. We're now going to go through this little canyon, is what I call it. It's like this little black slit. That thread needs to go through that little slit, and it's going to come down to the front of the machine. Okay, and I'm going to come around that big metal plate. Okay, so we're just going to swoop around and bring it up. Okay, now this is the most important part of this whole process, the thread take-up lever. There should be a little lever right there. If you don't see it, you're going to take your hand wheel. This is the hand wheel. It always goes toward you. So I'm going to turn it toward me until I see it, and it will just appear right there for me. Okay, so I'm going to grab my thread. I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to go back behind and then forward, and it will sit in the front of that lever so you can kind of see a better angle. Back, forward, and it should look like this. If it doesn't look like this, rethread. You've done it wrong. Okay, it has to look like that. Super critical. Okay, so once I have my thread in that take-up lever, I'm going to come down, and I'm going to go around my first hook. There's two hooks. This is the first one right here. Okay, and you notice I'm going to go over to the left, no, to the right, sorry, to the right. And then the next one I'm going to go from the left. Okay, so here I go. It's that little tiny, it's a little thinner wire, and it's right above that needle. Okay, so we're going to go around that. Okay, just like that, and it should pop into place like that. All right, now your machine will work if you don't do these, but it's a lot better if you have both of those on there. Okay, so that's a critical step. Okay, and now it's time to thread our needle. So you notice there's that little hole at the end of the needle. I'm going to take my thread, and I'm actually just going to snip the end of it just so I have a nice clean edge to work with. So I'm going to cut that little part off. And now I'm ready to put it through the front of my needle. Now it's really important you thread it from the front to the back. Don't try and bring it around the back toward the front. That's wrong. So I'm just from the front, pushing it back. Okay, and this is one of the trickier parts. And you're just going to grab that little tail. And you want to make sure that you don't get the thread tangled up. The thread should flow straight from those hooks into the needle. So you can see straight from the top. You notice here I've got a little issue with my thread, so I just bring it around so it doesn't have an issue. And I'm just going to pull it tight. Okay, so my thread should run from the thread take-up lever all the way down through my hooks, through the front of my needle, and then back. It should be one nice smooth action. Okay, now it's time to put my bobbin in the case. So I'm going to grab my bobbin, and I'm going to grab my case here. They're both ready to go. And I'm going to create a 9. Okay, so you see the circle and the line. There's a 9 right there. Okay, and I'm going to place my 9 inside of my case. So I'm going to hold it like this, and I place the 9 inside the case, just like this. Okay, now I need to bring my thread through that little slit. This is also a very important step. If you miss the step, it's not going to work right. So I bring it through the slit and up in between the little backward C shape. Okay, so it should look like this. Don't worry about threading it through that little hole in the bobbin case. That's for buttonholes. It's now going to fit in my little bobbin area here. Okay. So I'm going to flip it around so that I'm looking at this side of the case, and there's a little lever right here. Now, if you have it fully extended, the bobbin won't fall out. If you aren't fully extending it, the bobbin will come out. Okay, so that's a little tip for you. If you want to use the lever, you can. If you want to just hold it in place with your finger, you can also do that. Either way, I do it both ways sometimes. Now the little finger needs to be pointing up, okay, up towards the presser foot. So we're going to pop it in just like this, and I'm going to push it and make sure it clicks into place. It should not wiggle or move as I'm pushing it in, okay? It should lock securely into place. So you notice here, if it twists like that, not in place, okay? You got to make sure it clicks in all the way. If you try to sew, it will not go well, okay? Make sure you hear that click. Okay, now this next little step, you can cut it on this little thread cutter that's down here. You don't have to use that. You can leave it long, or you can cut it with your shears. If your machine is missing it, let me know and I'll see if I have an extra. Okay, now we're going to take our hand wheel and we're going to turn it towards us. But as we're doing this, we are going to hold that top thread. So as I'm holding that top thread, I'm turning my hand wheel toward me. My needle goes all the way down, all the way up. I'm going to stop, and you see there's a little loop, and I'm going to pull my top thread, and that loop will pull up, and I'll swipe across and grab that thread. Okay, rewatch that a couple of times. That's one of the trickier parts of getting the machine right. Now, there's another way you can do it. If you want to do a different way, I'm going to show you. So I put it back in, cut my thread. I can just use my presser foot, my foot pedal. Okay, so that's on the floor, obviously, and I just use it. I just try to just go once, and it'll pop up. It's easier if you have trimmed your thread when it does that. And there you go. That is how you thread your machine. You have finished. Watch it as many times as you need to until you've got it down.